All right, welcome to Bridge Everything. I have here my best friend joining me today. Welcome, Mr. Gumani, aka Path. Hey, what's up?
What's going on, everyone? The energy's abundant. Thankful to be
DK.
in DK, be present another day. But yeah, let's dive into it. Allow the conversation to flow.
Man, I don't even know where to begin just based off of everything that the last 30 minutes has consisted of, really all morning. But I guess, man, we could just check in with each other. It's been a minute. How you doing? What's going on with you in your world? What are you paying
Everything.
attention to? What are you navigating through these days?
Uh, Lately, I'm off social media completely. Damn near. Don't consume any outlets. YouTube was the main thing that I had to get away from. But I'm going on 2 months strong. No YouTube. My music consumption has been limited into at the gym and in car rides. But other than that, I'm always practicing gratitude and finding things to be grateful for, and learning how to incorporate that discipline into my everyday actions.
What have you? You already know how I feel about abandoning uh, s- social media, unless
Hmm.
you're somebody that has a horrible relationship to it.
Hmm.
But I guess for you, what have you
What has it yielded
gained
for me?
from it? What have you gained from it, and what if anything, do you miss?
Clear of mind, really, sound mind, original thoughts, um, and being able to separate myself from mass chaos. Right, I have a certain level of stillness that comes with it, and my emotions are a lot more balanced, I guess you can say. Me, I'm an emotional person, so I get caught up in the hype real quick. So for social media and a person like me, we just don't mix well, because I can go on a whole tangent or a rant, and next thing you know, my emotions is caught up in some shit that have nothing to do with me.
How are you? How are you when it comes to navigating other people's use of it, though? Like I know a month or so ago we talked about you basically offering is being generous. Enforcing, I think, is more more reasonable. Enforcing the whole ultimatum of social media in a particular relationship. We don't got to get too personal, but just in general, how do
Yeah.
you feel
Now,
as far as
I like to be transparent. So my girlfriend, she actually consumes social media, but
consumes? Just, it makes it sound that just sounds crazy. She consumes
she
social media,
consumes, but
participates.
consumes, participates. We can use whichever, but you know how I felt after that conversation we had. You gave me some real good insight about every
Judging.
player need, or not even the judgment, every player needing a voice on social media so that everyone has a representation. So just because there is a lot of bad that goes on, or a lot of misdirection or confusion tied to social media, there is also the light aspect of it, where there's true guidance, there's true love, companionship, community, and things of that nature. And everyone being able to leave their digital footprint so that we can have something to look back on and say, okay, this is how we were behaving then, or this is what was going on, and just having that digital time capsule to look back on and cherish memories or whatever it may be, learn from the memories. So after that conversation, it most definitely allowed me to kind of tone it back some. Also, my girl's not a pushover, so she wasn't having it anyway. She's gonna stand on what she believes and do what she feels best
You
with her
trying to
own life.
include this disclaimer out there
And
for
yeah, I
for
just want,
personal gain?
yeah.
You know when rappers go up to platforms, and anytime another rapper's name come up, shout out to so and so, shout out to her, shout out to him.
Man, I've been rocking with them tough for such a great. Excuse me, I almost choked on my
And
coffee.
boy having to sleep on the couch.
And boy, I actually
But
slept on
no,
the
well
couch last
that's
night.
fact though. one of my favorite things that have grown to kind of a mantra of mine, I guess I'll say, is instead of complaining, create alternatives. So, yeah, with that. And I feel like a lot of people that have a wide perspective on just the toxicity that exists in social media, most
Hmm.
people spend their time complaining about the lack of balance instead of galvanizing people, galvanizing and investing in building healthier use cases and community,
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely.
but not doing it from a supremacy standpoint. Like that's another thing I feel like we talk about a lot, just like the supremacies that exist in society today, from whether it's black people saying we're better than white people or left or anything, any all this tribalism that exists today. It just leads to the us versus them mentality, and that all really engages it or not engages in, but participates in the recycling of the toxicity.
Hmm. I can agree.
Yeah, I think
And
people
again, I've
do it.
I've taken a step back from judgment as much as I can. I've judged for so long, so obviously it's hard. But I try to see it from a lens of just, hey, this is somebody on their journey, they're growing, and who am I to dictate or determine the output of their energy, right? As long as it doesn't affect me.
Yeah, true love has to be, in my opinion,
Unconditional.
has unconditional. I see you've been taking your notes, um, but also just supportive. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that it's extremely important to if you're partnering for even just drugs. If you're with somebody that is dealing with drugs, they're most likely dealing with drugs from the lack of experiencing real love in their life. And so
Hmm.
if you overwhelm them, not in a negative way, but if you overwhelm them with true love, they're gonna, in my theoretically, they're gonna need less escapism because they can just tap in with real love whenever they need to, and that's ultimately what the drug is there for. It's there for to bring you comfort because you
Hmm.
are neglected of the ultimate healing, which is love, the only ultimate healer.
I agree to that 100%. Personal anecdote, actually. This person. I'm not gonna put his business out there just because his situation is so dire. But a family member comes up to me and just was thanking me for always being there and never treating him different because of his circumstance or situation, and it touched my heart because there is times where you would get frustrated and you want that person to do better because you see the better life for them or you see the opposite side of what they're going through, but then also realizing, yo, they're not doing this by choice. They have, or they do have their choice, but they fallen victim to the drug or to the addiction, whatever it may be, and they're still trying to fight through it. So to show that grace and that companionship or in compromise and be there for them through ever or throughout whatever it is they're going through is for me the ultimate test of true love, unconditional love, and shit, loyalty, really.
When do you feel like when do you feel like you probably, I mean, I would imagine probably around the same time as me. I guess even just a little backstory. Hopefully, this doesn't go too much into a rant for anyone listening. This is my best friend. We've been on a journey for over a decade at this point, and a lot of just things we come across. Like we've literally spend our lives basically learning, if not together, then sharing what we're learning, and I would even say healing together and even sabotaging together at obviously in the early
Seriously.
phases. But in all that, I get my question is, when do you feel like you started to fully understand and develop a deep sense of self-love?
Mm. uh,
Like I would say for me, what to give you time,
hmm.
it was probably like I think going vegan, which we did together,
Hmm.
kind of laid the foundation because that gave me the ability to become disciplined in my actions.
Hmm.
But I don't think that was enough. I think, funny enough, I think going to New Orleans, and not going to New Orleans in particular, but the person I was with at the time exposing me to Dr. Umar. I
Hmm.
feel like he was the next kind of thing, and then from there, I think going back to Seattle and seeing just the contrast of my lifestyle and the beginning phase of my journey and treating myself with grace in New Orleans, and then seeing the opposite of that when I went back to Washington, and still kind of early phase, but I think once I went to Atlanta, and especially once you move to Atlanta too, in that like living in Clark or Lashy, I don't know, living in Lashy, and I feel
Hmm.
like that's when it really was a breakthrough for me. I know for you, you were in Paris, and I would,
Yeah,
if I would have to guess, I would probably say like probably around Paris, and then coming to work at Waffle House, and just
yeah,
who you were at that time. You were a super light
yeah.
person.
Yeah, I was gonna touch on that. So that's when it started, where I was able to actually start feeling some of my pain of the trauma that I experienced when I moved to Paris, California. I was spending a lot of time in nature, going on hikes, um, sitting with nature, sitting in trees. Literally, I would go to this little same area every day in the morning, sit with the tree, write, talk to myself, and allow myself to truly understand, like, yo, you went through a lot of shit. It's okay to feel it. But the true love and where I've gotten at this point didn't come until I realized the pain that I caused a lot of people through my actions, and then having to suffer the severed ties of those relationships due to my actions. And these are people that I truly loved and truly appreciated, and to not be able to have access to them now made me start realizing, yo, you have to take a personal account and learn a certain level of softness for people, and learn that your actions do affect these people in a negative sense, right? And from that point forward, it all became a internalized, yo, I love myself, I love these people, and I don't want to lose or hurt the people that I love. So that, I guess you can say, crystallized the love that I've always had. And now I'm just, shit, I love everybody now.
Facts. I think once
Hmm.
you develop understanding of what love is, and you fully love yourself, you can only love everybody.
Hmm.
It's
I got
natural.
a few friends that, girlfriends that beg to differ, but say that for another time.
um, do you feel like you've given yourself at this stage the grace to not be hard on yourself for whatever actions you feel like led someone astray or put somebody in maybe a bad position that you were just referring to?
Absolutely. I'm most definitely forgiving myself. And I don't hold anything towards myself. And I'm always there and open to have conversations with anyone that I've hurt, as long as we're not dwelling on the past and continuing to just kind of poke at each other. We can have true growing conversations where I'm apologetic and they know that I'm apologetic. And I was young. I was in a place of trauma and selfishness, really. But yeah, I've absolutely forgiven myself, and I don't hold grudges against myself. I love myself wholeheartedly. And I understand that the more mistakes I make, the better off I'm going to come out at the end of it. So to answer your question in short, yes, I've forgiven myself.
Yeah. You're the most forgiving person I've ever met. And so it's
Yeah.
funny that even someone like you it could take you a while to forgive yourself. When I see, it used to make me mad. You know what I'm talking about in Atlanta, where when we were living together, relationships you had, we could just say plural. And I'm just like, yo,
Hmm.
how the hell are you forgiving this person?
Yeah.
And getting back in this and getting back in this cycle. And I've grown past that now. Not like now I'm a lot more sympathetic to it. Disclaimer in case they ever
Yeah.
happen to hear this,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
And
just remember
I
at that
think
time.
it wasn't me necessarily wanting to get back into it. Is me seeing that this person needs me. right? And I can take the burden of paying for however long I need to be there. But this person genuinely needs me. I'm gonna be there for them, no
I
matter
will
what I got to
believe.
go through. Hmm?
It's interesting because that's kind of been like a theme for the past couple weeks.
Hmm.
And speaking with my sister, who kind of has a relationship like that now. It's more of a friend, but yeah, that basically how we can enslave ourselves to fucked up positions because we are convinced or truly believe maybe it is a fact that this person needs us. And one thing I feel like is interesting to consider is while on some aspects that might be true, on other aspects it's interesting that I feel like maybe subconsciously even we tell ourselves or we convince ourselves of this because we also in a way need them, and I think it's easier for us to
Hmm.
say, but this person needs me, and I'm just, and in many aspects, you're also just enabling that person to not hold themselves accountable because the longer they are relying on you for anything, the the more they're going to, the longer they rely on you, the worse their future is because you're not
Hmm.
always going to be in their life, or if you are always in their life, it's a weakness that they'll forever have, and it can
Hmm.
be exploited at any moment in time. You can manipulate that person, you can threaten that person, you can in a way obtain power over that person and victimize them.
Absolutely. I think it's more so the per each person is going to benefit, right? It's like the con. You can't fall for the con unless you feel like you're going to gain something from it at the end of it. So obviously, there's a selfish intent there where, okay, we're attracted to this person. Okay, we want companionship, whatever it may be. We both benefit from it. But yeah, it's hard for me to word that properly, to be honest.
It's like an infinite loop.
Hmm.
Maybe that's not the right expression, but just in the way that again, it's a short perspective, I think, to only see it that way because the person typically making that statement, they don't see that they're also enslaved to this or that they are also in need, whether it's denial or, you know,
Enslaved to the person providing the support.
enslaved to the relationship. Because if somebody needs you, that means they are extracting from you, whether it's energy, time, attention, resources, whatever it is, they're extracting from you, and so you're enslaving yourself to something that is depleting you. Even if you have an abundant of this thing to, to extend, there's a trade off. There's a trade off inevitably built into that relationship.
Hmm. I
So
feel
if
like the thing that blurs, hold on, I feel like the thing that blurs these relationships of being there to support somebody oftentimes is the primal aspect of it, or getting sexually involved with someone. Because if you're there for them without that, then you're truly there to support them and help them grow. It's when you start to have sex with them and you guys blur the lines of the friendship and companionship and support. Now you're stuck in a somewhat of an addiction where it's like, okay, I'm feeding my primal senses, feeding my primal urge at the detriment of, like you said, now they're taking your resource, their energy, your life force, whatever it may be. But had you not went down that route, it would clearly just be support. Like, I'm here for you as a friend. I love you genuinely, and whatever you need, I got you. But you're going to be continuing to progress because you're not involving yourselves on those lower aspects. For me
but even if
personally.
but even if it's not sexually, you're still the opportunity cost of being there for that person. You're you're giving up, but you're sacrificing in your personal life, and that person will only need you more. The more they rely on you, the more they'll need you. It's even like our relationship and the way it's evolved. Like, there's certain things where I eventually was just like, yo, I'm not entertaining a conversation if it's on this particular person or if it's this
Right.
particular situation. And then eventually, shortly after that, you evolve to a place of like, yo, I'm not even telling you certain things because I already know the answers. And
Facts.
in a way, it's a form of escapism to have someone. I think we oftentimes get fulfillment from complaining or just venting, and in many ways we do that to not solve the issue or to solve the problem.
But you know, I'm not somebody that's going to hear somebody vent about the same problems over and over again.
but
Uh,
that's what's happening in the relationship with her. Like, it's the same thing. Man, yeah, we got to have this conversation. I don't want to dish too much on here, but
yeah.
you mentioned something in regards to the con, which made me just
Hmm.
think about what we talked about a few days ago briefly, which
Hmm.
was like this scam artists talk about.
Bro, that's what
Was
made me
talking
think
about
of it.
the state of these extractors that exist on the internet, on every corner of the internet, the serpents.
Uh, I feel like it's a selfish mentality. It's a fear mentality. And until we learn that, and you speak about this often, bridging everything. As a species, we're on this planet together. We have to look out for one another, and it's not one over the other ever. Like if I see somebody, whenever, if somebody's in need, I'm gonna give them as much as I can because this is my human brother. At the end of the day, this is my human sister. We exist as a species to look out for one another. And I teach my child often: give more than you receive. Like, look out for the people around you. Like we have to make sure every one in person that lives on this planet is taken care of at the best of our ability, as long as it's not to detriment ourselves. And people have adopted the capitalistic mindset of, oh, it's me over everybody. Or it's like, nah, ultimately that's just going to lead to chaos and us depleting all of our resources, this planet imploding on itself, and boom, what's left? And I know you're really heavily into the money, right? I've been listening to this audiobook that talks about how shit, money is useless. It's not backed by anything. Um, they're just printing up all these monies for these wars, and then it leaves us in a state of what? Inflation, hyperinflation, to the point where everybody's in debt and everybody's living a superficial lifestyle of feeding their ego. And where does that get us at the end of the day?
Money's not useless. You already know how I feel about this, and even just touching on the seashells the other day. But first I'll say money's not evil. Cheaply produced money is useless, and money backed by
Money that's not
hard,
backed by anything,
yeah, money
to
backed
be
by
more specific.
physical or scarce assets like gold or Bitcoin, is extremely valuable, and it's the basis of a modern society. It
Hmm.
drives innovation. In my belief, innovation is a human requirement. Without innovation, we would have not made it this far if we didn't have soaps and all these things that we take for granted today: fire, tools, the wheel, all these things that we take for granted today. um, but on the point that you were asking the other day when you tried to ask me that trick question, and you even phrased you, you even
It's
phrased it
hard money.
improperly. You even phrased it improperly. Seashells were not are not considered hard money because they were easy to inflate. And so, yeah, it wasn't
Before
even
they were
the first.
easy to inflate, they were considered hard money. It's
They
not
were always.
until hmm,
Just because you're unaware that it's easy to inflate something doesn't mean it's hard to inflate. It just means your lack of intelligence
or they don't
believes
have the
it.
proper tools. So in that community or in that society, they only
All right,
have the
no.
tools.
First, let me just add a little bit of
Go ahead.
context for people. So many people don't know this, but one of the so they say one of the inhibitors of what led to African slavery was Europeans realizing that Africans were using seashells as a store of value, as a store of trade, aka money. They realized that they were using shells or seashells for money, and once they realized that, they went to a nearby island. They gathered up a lot of shells, and they came back to the particular area and inflated the currency by basically offerings, by buying everything up. And by buying everything up, people were not able to essentially protect themselves. Money is a form of protection, it's a form of security. And when you have currency debasement, it puts you in compromising positions. And so that is one of the contributors that led to Africans being enslaved, is they were compromised, and you essentially become labor and just forced to make sacrificial or compromising decisions. And where were we going from there? Now that I kind of laid that out there.
So you're saying just because they weren't able to
Yeah.
manufacture it, but
So just
still, I
because,
feel like they didn't have the tool. So had the Europeans had not come in with the proper tools, it would still be valuable. It would still be considered hard money
yeah, but at
because it takes
scale,
them time.
but but
Hmm.
but money has to scale. I think an
Hmm.
essential requirement of hard money is that it has to scale. If your money
Hmm.
can't, if the currency or whatever you're using as money can't scale, then it's not hard,
Hmm.
because it's just going to it's going to always have that vulnerability, and somebody else can just come in and be like, hey, we now own you. Like,
Which is also a weird mentality. We have
it
more than
is.
you, so we own you.
It is. This is something I was thinking of today. I was going through kind of just notes and clearing up, like notes on my phone, and one of the
Hmm.
questions I wrote was, "Is war a human requirement?" And there's a book I started reading on this like over a year ago, and think I'm going to get back into it. By Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's called
Hmm.
Accessory to War, I believe, but it's
Hmm.
basically talks about the idea that war drives innovation, and through that innovation, war. I don't think he's saying war is an essential part of humanity and that we need war, but I think he's just highlighting the value that war does bring to civilization. So
Hmm.
can't remember certain technologies, but there's a lot of technologies that we take for granted
Would
for today that we most people don't even understand that we only have this thing because war.
would you consider war a purging in a sense?
Urging? No. No, all right. So first of all, I'm anti-war. Everything
Hmm.
about me is anti-war. I just want to put that out there. But if I'm to play
I'm
devil's
not. I'm
advocate,
not. I'm not anti-war, and you know how I feel about it. I feel like war should be played out in less
oh
violent ways.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But physical war, physical violence, I'm against that, and I think you would say you
Yeah.
are too.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, but I would say that. What was the question again? Sorry.
Hold on, really quick. I said, do you think it's a purging? But how would you feel if there was a for each country or each player in power when it comes to war, there's one representative to go to combat?
Be
Do you?
dope. I mean,
Okay.
especially in comparison to what we got today.
Yeah, I feel like that would probably be best. You know, then
But
we
I
could
think
save
that kind
more
of
lives,
defeats.
resources.
I keep.
Hmm.
I think that kind of defeats the purpose of the value that war could bring. And again, still anti-war, but I think the value that war brings is it does drive competition. So you even look at the propaganda that's pushed: China's bad, Russia's bad, Iran's bad. We gotta
Hmm.
stop them. I think at the heart of that, what that does if I'm to make a case for war, is that it does drive innovation. Like you think about the uh, nuclear energy, and you think of like just the advancements that again I can't think of this particular ones that I've read about, but when you just think of the advancements and the things we take for granted for today,
Hmm.
I think war has contributed to, and that's again the premise of the book is that war has contributed some of the best things that we now take for granted.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here today if things didn't play out the way they played out.
And so I think if it was on an individual level, I don't know how we really get value from that and what's to gain from that besides just
I guess you just say, at what point do we evolve past our limitations? At what point are we finalized to the point where we don't have to harm each other anymore? We don't have to continue to progress. We've evolved to this point and we're
I don't
good.
think
At
it's
what
about
point?
owning. I don't think it's about owning or even about the violence. I think war
Hmm.
is a matter I think war today specifically in these modern
Hmm.
times in which we have all the information and all the history to learn from. I think war today is just because of the debasement that takes place. So I think when you have a debasing currency, I think that you need to go to other countries, other nations, and confiscate from them so you can continue to
So ultimately, it's because
thrive.
of greed.
It's because of it's because of the flaw of the monetary system, not greed. It's because if you don't today, the world we live in, if you're not if you're not making money, it's only a matter of time before you starve, before you die, because the currency is debasing, and so you can't make just a one-time investment, or you can't make a large lump sum of money and just be like, okay, this is gonna be enough for me to survive these next 40 or 50 years or whatever the case is.
Hmm.
So even 60 year olds need to now work into their 70s or 80s in the US in particular,
Hmm.
because money that they had been putting in the retirement for decades is now worthless. And so I think governments are no differently than that. Like they have tons and tons of debt, and they also need to make money in order to not default on that debt, because once they default on that debt, then they do lose a large amount of power. And so it's really a matter of, I wouldn't even say greed, I would say it's a matter of just the flaw in money. Like you need to
But that,
always
but
have an income.
ultimately, that goes back to greed because there's somebody that took too much. There was somebody that wanted to live above their means, that wanted
Took too
to.
much or made too much. I think language is important. I think it's unfair to say took too much.
That's what it goes back to. Is somebody that wanted to live grandiose, that wanted more food, that wanted more comfort, that wanted more than their brother or the sister. It always comes back to somebody wanting more. And when we want more, we're going to take more and we're going to do things to compromise what's already given. So when they're hyperinflating things, it's because they want more. When you're printing more money, it's so you can buy more things.
Governments want more, yes, but I'm talking about
Hmm.
individuals. I don't think individuals want more. I think individuals are put in decisions to where they need more, because if they don't make more,
That
then
depends on the it depends on what society you're in. If you're American and you're subjected to our mentality, you're gonna want
yeah,
more.
yeah, like if you don't know, I would say you both things. I think you want
Hmm.
more, but I think seniors, I think if you're in your 20s, no matter what age you are in America, you might want more, but you also need more. Unless you're already a multimillionaire, because again, what's $1 million going to be in 15 years?
Hmm.
It's going to be worthless. You could argue the purchasing power declines drastically due to the inflation. And so, no matter how, so look at all these celebrity. Look, this
Hmm.
is something I think about all the time. When I see like celebrities doing like the most random commercials, I don't even want to say the name, but I'm just like, I'm like, damn, is you hurting because how you doing this like commercial for this compromising company? Like, And
Yeah,
so I think no matter where you are, at what stature you have, or what level of fame or celebrity you have, or how
it
much money
was
you
like,
made, like Jay-Z has the line, I forget what it is, but like basically MC Hammer lost 50 million.
yeah,
And how, and so when you think about just that's if you can blow 50 million,
you're a
um,
goof.
but that also says something about the flaw in the monetary system. Like,
Hmm.
I think people spend 50 million, or people spend because they know that you're in
They're
you're
spending that much because you think you're going to be able to make it back,
you're in,
obviously.
you're incentivized to spend the money, because if you don't spend the money, it's going to lose. So you either need to become a master investor, which is hard for most people, especially of our backgrounds, to want to have that, not to want to have that patience or that discipline to play the long-term investing game. Um, like the only way you can reasonably do that is if
I wouldn't say that though, because say you put the stipulation on it where here's this 50 million and you're not going to make money again, then he'd be wiser with his money. He's in a
then what
position where he's making, what was that?
you said. If say that again.
We put the stipulation that I'm gonna give you this 50 million, but you're not gonna make any more money after this. Then he will be wiser with his money. He's gonna say, okay, this has to last me a lifetime. So he's gonna put it in the proper vessels to carry him throughout his lifetime, whatever it may be, 20, 30, 40 years. But because he's an artist, he's used to making $100,000 per show, or whatever he was making, 30,000 per show. You're performing 7 days a week. 50 million and shit to him. He's like, oh, I'll get this back, no problem. I'm buzzing right now. That's the mentality that fucked him over.
I mean, I think a lot of things. I think the way in which he was brought up fucked him over. I think the prices of things fucked him over. So again, even just in the monetary system we live in, like we live in a bubble
Mm,
economy. I always compare it to the Matrix. Like everything is overpriced because the debasement. So the price of everything goes up to live a. If you have 50 million, you're not necessarily welcome in parts of society in which it's regular people that don't have that kind of money. So the more money you make, the more money you have to spend, or else you're just a lick. You're a walking lick.
mm-hmm.
um, and so you can't make.
Or you could just give to to everyone around you. I feel like
Yeah,
the
I think
more we give, the better off people are gonna be. If
this
everybody's
is a.
living good, you're gonna reduce crime. You're gonna reduce. I feel like you'll reduce mental health because people will feel more accepted. You're not constantly feeling like you got something to prove or you got to live up to a certain ideal. You would just be accepted. If I can go out and there's going to be somebody that's looking out for me, there's going to be somebody I can communicate with and that's going to embrace me, and I don't have to put up a mask. I can truly just be authentic.
Look at what happened to you when you came to Florida and you made all that money. How fast did you lose it?
What is?
So in that, the wisdom in that is
Mm,
giving people that have never had this amount of money is a destructive recipe. Not to say they aren't deserving of that money, because they are, but
mhm,
giving it to them without, like I told you, when you lost it all, as fast as you make it, as fast as you lose it. Like
mhm,
the faster it comes, the faster it goes. And so I think that giving it to people who, there's no free lunches, and if you, even if you are given that free lunch, like you're gonna eat too fast, and you're gonna cause yourself, you're gonna, like.
but why are they eating too fast? Because they already have a mindset of scarcity because of the society that we've created. So this isn't something that happens overnight. This is something that has to be instilled into the next generations, that you don't have to force this. You will be taken care of. You are okay. Like the
But
community got you.
there's still a lack of appreciation for it, though. If you
How is it
give
a lack
so
of appreciation if we're
if you
together as a whole? We look out for each other.
if you give your daughter $50,000 today, what do you think she's gonna do with that money?
My daughter's subjected to the same mentality as everyone else around her. She's going to be a
So what
consumer.
yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying is if somebody has never had this amount of money, it's not
Again,
going
this
to
isn't
offer.
overnight. We're not talking about, oh, I invested into my daughter, gave her all this money. We're talking about at least 5 generations forward, or we're moving down the road of us teaching, yo, community, look out for your brother. Like, give more than you receive. Stop trying to feel like because you have money or you have items, you're better than somebody.
I
We are the
think I
same.
think that's I think that's the I think that giving is a beautiful practice, a beautiful art, craft, whatever you want to call it. But we've had this conversation.
Yeah, I know. You feel like it's not
I
good to
think
give
that it's a
somebody.
form. I don't, not that. I wouldn't say that.
Mm.
I acknowledge the enabling that exists within giving. Like the more you are just giving stuff, I, yeah, I'm trying to not say names,
But
but the more you,
I'm not saying give without. Obviously, we're given to one another. This is a community, right? Everybody plays their part. This isn't just somebody like, oh, were you talking about him?
but that's communism. What you're referring to, and communism hasn't worked anywhere. Like they all have
But
assigned
why?
roles.
Why doesn't it work?
Why hasn't it worked?
Mm-hmm.
Why hasn't it worked? Because it's a
Mm-hmm.
centralization of everything. You're centralizing who makes the decisions, and any per absolute power corrupts absolutely. Like
Not
that's
they
the
wouldn't
most
corrupt me.
simple and beautiful statement.
It wouldn't corrupt me.
That's what every person that's given the authority says.
It
Like, what
wouldn't
are we
because
talking about?
I have no skin in the game. Like whether I have everything or whether I have nothing, it's not going to change the fact that okay, I'm not going to take from somebody else in order for me to live better. It
That's
doesn't
what they
do
all.
anything for me. Hmm.
That's what they all say. The
I'm a
moment
true
you,
king. That's the difference. There
we
hasn't been
be
a true
serious
king in
here.
power.
We be serious here.
It's in my blood, bro. It's in my DNA.
The
Unfortunately.
moment you, the
Go
moment you
ahead.
centralize, the moment you centralize who makes decisions, you also remove a level of freedom for the people that are being subjected to that individual. So by putting somebody in charge, they are now in charge of my fate, my future, my resources, what my role is, and that's what happens in these countries that I've personally visited. Like you see a lack of dignity and a lack of individuality, and a lack of like hope and imbalancement in who receives, because we all have friends, we all have loved ones that we prefer individuals. Again, every king or every monarch has believes these same things, but eventually you see a woman you want, or if you're a woman, you see a man that you want if you're the queen,
Hmm.
and there's favoritism that participate. There's favoritism that parents showcase, like, and
I feel like I don't showcase that, but again,
you don't
I'm
showcase favoritism.
no,
Negro, you show favoritism
I'm
with me. What are we
unbiased. I'm
talking about?
unbiased in my
You
everyday
have
life. I'm
favoritism.
unbiased.
You
You're
have
my brother. I
favoritism
love you. Like,
with
but
me
again,
inside you.
if I had power and it was a
If you had
had to
power, you would give me inside you a better role than anybody else. That's a fact.
because you guys are eligible. But say there was somebody more eligible to do the job, I'm not gonna give you the job over them.
I disagree.
Why would I say there's a scientific role? You know nothing about science.
First of all, I know a lot about science.
No, no, theoretically speaking, you knew nothing about science. I'm not gonna be like, yo, Steph, handle this job.
I
Well,
disagree. I think that we are all, again, in theory, I don't, I think you're being honest, but I think in practice, we are all blinded by our bias. Like
also, Steph, you gotta,
you are one of the
Steph.
most biased people I know. Yeah. The last thing I want to talk about is briefly is
Hmm.
blackness.
The culture. I
Yeah.
was wondering if you were going to bring it up in this episode or not, but I'm glad you brought it
Yeah,
up.
because I'm gonna do a separate episode on it sooner than later, but just to
Hmm.
kind of get another perspective, I think would be interesting. And first, and
Hmm.
also just for anyone listening, there's a lot that this man has said, especially within the past 20 minutes that I disagree with. But
Yeah.
uh, I think it's important for these ideas and thoughts to
And
exist. So I
and again, this is
didn't
just
push
us
back.
freestyling. We decided that we're just going to have a freelance conversation, no script, and kind of just allow conversation to flow. So that's the
Yeah,
reason it's all over the place.
and
Some
if
of
this
these
was
thoughts are
long.
organic, but
And also, just if this was longer format, like say we had 3 hours or 2 hours, then I definitely would push back on a lot more ideas. But just because I know do have limited time here, there's certain things that I'm just like, okay, like that's, people can make their own decisions on this. And that's ultimately what I want this platform to be. I want this platform to be these are thoughts and ideas that exist, but ultimately you make your own decisions, you do your own research. But yeah, now blackness, kind of just your thoughts on that. I know you have a tattoo that I would say was maybe inspired by just your idea of.
you're talking about
Would you
Lost
say that
Nation.
inspired? Yeah, would you say that that was like
Okay.
the.
It has nothing to do with blackness. I don't really like to use that term, but Lost Nation is a tribute to our people. And when I say our people, I'm talking about the ones that went through slavery in America. We were stripped of our identity, our culture, our language, and everything to the point where now we have no true sense of identity. That's Lost Nation, the nation without a name, the nation without a history to connect itself to. Um, Now, when you're asking me the question about blackness and asking me to speak on that, I think you're particularly talking about the comment I made about black culture.
You don't have to go
And
into that if you want to. That's fine. But no, it's not
we
in
can
particular
save
the
that
same.
to,
Thing to catch you up in, like
no, 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 no.
like like
So what would you say?
but
That
no,
shit you was talking
just in
last week?
general, I feel like we have a lot of conversation just on how the is how basically it could be a form of enslavement and how yeah, just wherever you want to go. It's such a broad idea that I feel like we talk about regularly.
Um,
But yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about how you said, what did you even say? You said you hate black culture, I think, and
yeah.
I was like rephrase the way you say that. Say you think I said it's better to say you hate a certain part of black culture because I was like, I agree with, or maybe not agree with you there, but I understand why someone could make that statement.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll save that one for the next episode because I feel like that's a whole different conversation to dive into. Um,
Yeah,
but
50
just
minutes is
speaking,
short for us. Our conversations normally
yeah,
be hours, especially.
hours. But the thing is, blackness. That's a hard thing to speak on, really. But
Yeah, it might be. Maybe it's just. Maybe we should just end it here because again, this
but
will
no, no,
probably.
I'll end it with this. As a people, when we're talking about quote unquote black people, I feel like we need to show our people more love. We need to embrace ourselves more. We need to build ourselves up more. Look out for one another as much as we can. Call each other beautiful. Call each other powerful more often. Um, Showcase terms and actions of endearment towards one another. Be softer with one another. Cut the music off, dog. I told you this the other day. I was listening to a song and the dude was like, I'm not even gonna say his name. In the hook, the beginning of the song, crash out, crash out, crash out. And this is all right. We're not gonna go there
It's
because
hard to
if
say cut the music off though. Like I feel like I don't
be
listen to
be
music that
mindful
often.
and be intentional with what it is
Well,
that you're
I,
listening to.
yeah, I don't listen to music much at all these days, but I
Hmm.
feel like it's hard for us to. on a in mass grow to that point because that really is all we had when we came here. Like they stripped everything from us, but the one thing we could do was sing them little songs.
Ain't nothing wrong with singing
You
the
know, we
songs.
had drums, we danced, we were spiritual, and so I just feel like it's such a crucial part of our DNA that is like I think that would be such a beneficial cultural thing for us to all embrace and accept. I feel like we could easily change who we are just from cutting that out and living with our
Hmm.
thoughts. But at the same time, I don't know how you remove that when there's some people that's still all they got. Like I've been to Bankhead, like
Absolutely.
you know,
No, 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 I get it. And it's hard to say, especially because I'm still battling with
shout
the
out to
music. Gets me
Bankhead.
through a lot. Mhm.
I said shout out to Bankhead though.
And shout out to
I don't
Bankhead.
have
I ain't
no
never been.
problems.
Hey, I heard stories about it though, but I've never been. Um, we can't go into this conversation because then we're gonna have to talk about the brain, right? And I don't have time to really dive into that. But be intentional, be conscious of what you're allowing into your inner being, and that's all I can say
Saul
about
Williams
that.
put it best for me, yeah.
Hmm.
Saul Williams put it best for me when he was years ago. He was like, and I know you love him, um,
I got
but
nothing to say against, but
when he said diet is more than nutritional, it's spiritual, it's mental, it's physical, it's everything, and so just be
he was
mindful of
100% right.
your your diet and understand that it's more than just what you eat or not only more than what you eat but you eat in more than one way. You got multiple
There it
sources of
is.
nutrients.
Hmm. And the brain is a very fragile tool that can be manipulated in many ways, chemically, rhythmically. Um, yeah, so be conscious
Oh man,
always. Mm.
I didn't even get it tell you I've been getting into I've been diving deep down, and we could leave after this. I've been diving
Mm.
deep into the CIA and mind control that was going on in the 50s with MK Ultra and all these
Yeah,
different operations that they had, and hypnotizing people and giving people
yeah,
LSD,
yeah.
all of that
Without
shit.
without them even knowing, they had safe houses set up.
Yeah,
But
getting have sending the prostitutes in there. Like I've been
yeah,
diving deep into that lately.
so you think it's a game? Look, I'm literally. This is the gateway process, right? It's called
I can't
Hemison.
see that; it's blurry. It's too blurry.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, this is the CIA document that they released on Hemison gateway process, and this is pretty much what I've been studying lately. That made me be more mindful of the music and putting myself in a self-induced hypnotic state. Because, like I told you before, the left is the filtration system to the right. So, if you break the left down or allow that barrier to fall, the message will go straight to the right, and then manifestation will begin. So, yeah, we ended that there, and I guess we'll pick up next time straight off from the brain and go into whatever. But
All
yeah,
right, peace and love, everybody. Y'all have a great day.